بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Is my voice clear? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. Alhamdulillah. Today is the fourth session in our talk about Islamic psychology. And inshallah, I hope when we finish, all the materials will be reviewed and improved and put in the group so anyone can read it. So please, if you have any feedback, if you have any question, if you have any opinion, if you have any criticism or any critique to the materials, provide it to me. So your feedback will help me to improve the materials, inshallah. We have previously said that the components of the Islamic knowledge framework are four. The components of the Islamic paradigm are four. And we have talked about the first one, knowledge. And today we will talk about the conception of man in 2 points. First, I will talk about the major trends in psychological theory, which psychological theories which try to understand and study the self or the man. And second, I will talk about the postulates in the Islamic conception of man. Looking at the history of psychology, we find that it was influenced by 4 factors. Physics, the first one is physics, where physics with its rigor and the methodology represented the supreme example of science. The second factor is neuroscience, where the first students of psychology were neuroscientists. The fourth factor is Darwin's theory. The third factor, Darwin's theory, and the fourth factor is computer science. As a result of these factors, 3 major trends have emerged in psychology. First one is physics model or natural sciences or mechanical model. Second, biological or animal science model. The third, computer or cognitive model. Each group of theories represent one model of these 3 models I mentioned, and I'll talk about these these 3 models one by one, inshallah. The first one, mechanism or mechanical model or natural science model. One of the explanation of the way the universe worked in the Renaissance in Europe is that it works in a mechanical way. The universe is a huge machine, and the objects in it are moving materials, particles that affect each other through direct contact, as Galileo says. While the particles themselves are devoid of the internal force that binds each other, an external stimulus is required of the movement to occur. The founders of the model see that the understanding of any phenomena and things is through analysis and reductionism. That is the analysis of the elements of the phenomenon into its primary elements a perception attributed to Aristotle in the past and then adopted by Galileo and after him Newton in the Renaissance era. Such method was adopted in psychology after Descartes and then in the 20th century by Watson, the leader of the behavioral school. Watson's school was strongly based on Newton's physics. The goal of this model is to apply the law of matters to behavior. In his article, Watson called for overcoming the ambiguity caused by the structural and functional schools and emphasized that psychology is one of the branches of natural sciences whose goal is to predict and control behavior. He also stressed that there is no dividing line between man and animal because he also believes that the animal is of a mechanical nature. He sees instincts as socially conditioned responses as the environment creates them. Watson published a famous article in 1913 entitled Psychology as a Behaviorist Views. In it, he called for a new vision in psychology that transcends the crisis that arose due to the prevailing cognitive framework in psychology and called for a new science with new tools. Watson applied to this material element the laws of matter. The first of law of motion, when Newton says that matter is static until what moves it comes. That is, the engine is outside it. In application of this principle, we find the famous Watson model of behavior: a stimulus and response. For him, the behavior is based on an external stimulus followed by a response from the organism. So the response does not come from inside. It is motivated or it is stimulated by a force outside of a human being. Through this simple model, Watson was able to explain the behavior whether it was normal or ill. Or as he and those who followed his path were able to, by activating two concepts: synchronization or temporal proximity of stimuli and the concept of reward or reinforcement. He was able to provide us with an integrated psychological structure or a new psychology or a new paradigm that dominated the skies of psychology in America for nearly half a century. The second model is the biological or animal science paradigm. The founders of this model tried to apply to human the principles of biology, while the first model tried to apply the principles of matter, here the principles of biology. They were influenced by neuroscience on the one hand and Darwin's theory on the other. You see the difference between these two models. The force for the first one comes from inside. We have to have a stimulus outside in order to respond. While this paradigm or this model, the force is inside us. We grow, we act, it is not necessary to have a force outside us in order to respond. The human being, according to the founders of this model, is just a biological being like any other animals. And the difference between people and the rest of the other biological beings is a difference in degree only and not in kind. And Darwin, with his theory known as the theory of evolution, established this model by eliminating the barriers between man and animal, and assumed that man evolved from the animal and then explained his behavior as he explains the behavior of the animal. There is no difference between them, according to him. Schultz and Schultz, both published a book in the history of psychology, said about this model or this group of theories. Evolution theory has left a tremendous impact on contemporary American psychology, and this theory owes its form and substance to Darwin. They said also Darwin's legacy in the later part of the 19th century was a major force in shaping modern psychology. The theory of evolution supported the proposition that the mental process of man are a continuation of the mental process of lower animals. The unit study in biology in the cell. The unit study in biology is the cell, and the cell is developing self-mobile and growth. The effect of that context was manifested in two ways: growth and development, instinct gratification. These two concepts, gratification and development, are very evident in the theories of this framework. Some general features of this theory and biological model are as follows. Darwin's theory abolished the essential differences between man and animals and sees that man is an extension of the animal, and the difference between them is in degree and not in kind. And as the first model saw that animal and the human are identical and have a mechanical nature, this model sees that they are identical and have a biological nature. Therefore, the topics studied by psychological theories are common topics between human and animals. Intelligence, for example, intelligence, sense, sensory perception, aggressive behavior, and others are common topics between humans and animals. And it is very rare to find topics that especially for people or for man, and not isolated from animals. The biological model includes life, and this has two aspects. The first is evolution, and I mentioned earlier, and the second is instincts. One of the most important drivers of behavior is instincts. The human being moves in response to them, and his goal is to satisfy them, and satisfying them is what achieves, satisfy the instincts is what achieves psychological well-being. The idea of instincts or needs later on developed with the development of psychology, so it became expressed, it is called need, and satisfying them became the goal of man in the model, in this model. We find this in Freud, for example, as we find it in Maslow's pyramid needs, and we find it and Henry Moray as well. Darwin's theory focuses on development through growth, which is why most of the theories that have been based on or influenced by Darwin's theory in psychology have evolution as part of its component. Through the concept of survival of the fittest, the concept of conflict and individuality arose in social theory. The third model is commuter or cognitive model. In this model, thought causes behavior, not instincts, are not a stimulus. Thought, our thought causes our responses, our behavior, not biology, not mechanics, external stimuli, or the environment. A person perceives information, stores in his mind, and retrieves it whenever he wants, and makes of it a mental image or meaning through his understanding, and he responds to this mental image or meaning. One of the advantages of this model is that it represented man as a knower, thinker with the will. And the model surpassed the instinctive action or the moment as in the biological model, and from the captivity of the environment as in the mechanical model, to the circle of the volitional action born of mental vision. He does not assume that all human actions are subject to rationality, but he assumes that his actions are carried out according to a meaning he imagines. Weaknesses of the model, the cognitive model. The cognitive trend is not without flaws, and perhaps its greatest flaw is that it portrays man as a neutral in the face of good and evil or good and ugly. An Islamic concept, we are not neutral about good and evil. The good cause us to feel good, to grow normally, and the evil or the bad things drive us to become abnormal and to feel stressed inside, to feel not pleased inside. Now we will talk about the second part of my lecture today. We will talk about the postulates of the Islamic conception of man. المسلمات في التصور الإسلامي. We have 12. I counted the 12 postulates. I draw them from Quran and Sunnah. The first one, religiosity, or we have fitrah inside us. The second one, aql, or sane. The third, man was born knowing nothing. Fourth, man has a will. Fifth, he a social being. Sixth, a producer of culture. Seventh, responsible. He has a responsibility or accounted for his action. Eighth, honored. He is honored or mukarram, at-takrim. 9, he has another life after his death in which he will be rewarded for his deeds. 10th, he is weak and short on perfection. 11, he is teachable. He can learn throughout his life. 12th, he is conscious or aware of his motives. I will talk about the first one, religiosity or fitrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. I did not create the jinn and mankind except that they should worship me. ويقول سبحانه وتعالى فاقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم. God's instincts with which he has, God's instincts or fitrah, which with which he has made people, there is no alteration of God's creation. There is a hadith, I created my servants as Hanafis, so the devils came to them and swept them away. خلقت عبادي حنفاء فجاءتهم الشياطين واجتالتهم. Also, the well-known hadith about fitrah, every child is born on instinct or fitrah. The translation of fitrah to instincts, I'm not pleased with it. It seems to me the term fitrah is rich of meaning, while the instincts, when we mention it, we talk about only biological things. Meaning of fitrah. The natural fitrah is to accept monotheism or tawheed and the virtues, fadail or fadila, and aversion to what contradicts it. يقبل التوحيد، يقبل الفضيلة، وينفر مما سواهما. Instinct is not neutrality. Al-fitrah is not a neutrality, and it is not a blank page on which behavior can write on it. No. Instinct is affected by social normalization, but it may be alienated from it if it is not compatible with it. So his parents make him a Jew, a Christian, or Magus, as Muhammad said. فأبواه كل مولود يولد على الفطرة وأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. So his parents make him a Jew, a Christian, or Magus. That means the wrong behavior, we get it from our environment. The mistakes, we get it from our environment. Criminal behavior, we got it from our environment. Nothing was born with us. There is no biological roots for our mistakes or our criminal behavior. No, we learn all this from the environment around us. Components of fitrah. The first one is tawheed. And when we mention tawheed, we have 5 things we have to remember them. And these 5 is part of tawheed. The first one is to believe that Allah is the creator. Second is to worship him. Third, al-isti'ana, is to ask from him, to ask help from Allah in urgent situations. Fourth, to love him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fifth, to fear and glorify him. تعظيمه وخشيته سبحانه وتعالى. The second component of fitrah is to believe in the unseen. Al-iman bil-ghayb, to believe in the unseen. The third component of fitrah, doing good deeds. عمل الصالحات, doing good deeds. First one, and تحت this third component, we have three things. First one, عمارة الأرض, earth, architecture. Second, الإحسان إلى الخلق, charity to creation. Third, to improve إجادة العمل, to improve work. And these three things, if you examine them, you will find them necessary for each civilization, whether it is Islamic civilization or non-Islamic civilization. Any civilization established on earth, it must have these three things. عمارة الأرض, إجادة to improve work, and charity to creation, to make ihsan to people around you. And for each term of this, well, I have dalil or evidence from Quran and Sunnah. But because of the short time, I will not go through these. The fourth component of fitrah is the origins of virtues. أصول الفضائل. We have three: justice, العدالة أو العدل, to thank the benefactor, شكر المحسن. Third, honesty, or aversion to lying, or aversion to moral inconsistency. Normal man is not pleased with inconsistency in moral, or with cheating, or with lying, or with it is something in our nature. We avoid these things. Fifth component of fitrah, beauty values, قيم الجمال. Sixth component of fitrah, الحياء. I choose the word modesty, and I believe modesty is not a translation to al-haya. Al-haya is an Islamic term. Really, I couldn't find a right translation, although I searched and I talked with specialized people in English, and I spoke with those who are mother tongue in English and who are scholars, and I couldn't find the right translation to al-haya. So that fitrah is composed of six components: التوحيد, الإيمان بالغيب, التوحيد and الإيمان بالغيب, monotheism or الإيمان بالغيب, to believe in the unseen. Third, عمارة عمل الصالحات, doing good deeds. Fourth, أصول الفضائل, the origins of virtues. Fifth, beauty values, قيم الجمال. Sixth, الحياة. I want to mention something about believing in the unseen. Belief in the unseen is very essential in عقيدة and in akhlaq. If you take this part from moral or from a value, and you destroyed it. Because to believe in the unseen is the motivator to do good, and because you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you either in this life and in the hereafter. Now we come to the second postulate, al-insan aqil. The man or human being is sane or rational. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And He made for you hearing, vision, and hearts, that perhaps you would be grateful. What's the meaning of mind? We have many explanations about mind, and some people thought that mind is intelligent. No, mind is not intelligent. It is not intelligent, and something different from intelligent. But there is some relationship between mind and intelligent. But mind is mind, and intelligent is intelligent, or aql is aql, and intelligent is intelligent. The mind role is to control behavior. Is to control behavior. Because you thought about the sequences, about many variables, and you prefer not to move, you prefer to wait, and this is the role of mind, or the role of aql. And aql came from the rope where we tie, in Arabic, where we tie camels so that it control the camel from moving or going away. The components of mind or aql, that the person understand the speech addressed to him and understand the environment around him. This is the first stage of aql. And in this stage, man is sane. Man is sane. And if he don't have this stage, that means he's not mukallaf, he's not responsible, he's not accounted for his behavior, he's mentally ill. This is the first stage, to understand the speech directed to you. If someone can say to you, come or go, or let us do, and you will understand. You will understand what he's saying. Also, you will understand the environment around you. You will know this part is harmful, and this part is good, and this is an exit, and this wall, and you will understand the environment around you. Anyone who cannot understand the environment around him and cannot understand the speech directed to him, he is not sane. The second part is mental axiomatic. البديهيات العقلية. Mental axiomatic. البديهيات العقلية. One of these, man cannot be in the same place and two places and at the same time. We cannot be in two places at the same time. things either exist or not exist. We have many badahiyat or axiomatic, and this comes with us and to this life. The third, attempt to obtain what is beneficial to him and avoid what is harmful. يجذب لنفسه أو يعمل لنفسه ما ينفعها ويتجنب ما يضرها. What is harmful to you, to avoid what is harmful, and you get what is beneficial to you. Fourth, aversion to mental contradiction. We do not feel pleased with mental contradiction. We try to find a solution to the contradiction. Fifth, applying knowledge he knows. العلم العمل بالعلم. العمل بالعلم. When you learn something and knows that it is good for you, you try to apply it. And to avoid it, this is not rational, this is not happen. The last relies on mental good and ugliness. التحسين والتقبيح العقليان. A man relies which is good and which is bad or which is ugly. For example, certain behaviors are good because they are good, and certain behaviors bad because they are bad. Not because we said it is bad. No, they are themselves bad. And certain behaviors are good not because we said it is good. No, they are good because they are good. For example, to say to your parents, thank you. This is good, not because we said it is good. Good to every people, to every nation, to every time, they believe that it is good. Someone came to you and helped you and good and did good to you. It is good to say to him, thank you. It is good behavior, not because we said it is good. No, because the behavior itself is good. And to say to him something other than thank you or opposite to thank you is something not accepted by people, or even you yourself, you're not pleased with it. These are the components of mind. And these are naturally in us. We are born with it. And the components of fitrah, we are born with it also. The third one, we are born knowing nothing. We were born knowing nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاللَّهُ أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم لا تعلمون شيئا وجعلكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة لعلكم تشعرون. And Allah has brought you out from the wombs of your mothers while you know nothing, and He gave you hearing, sight, and hearts that you might give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at this verse, this ayah. Allah has brought you out of the wombs of your mothers while you know nothing. We came to this life knowing nothing. We came to this life without knowledge. And we got the knowledge after we grow after we were born, we get knowledge, we get information, but after that, no, there is no knowledge in our mind. Here's a question. Does this verse contradict text of fitrah? I mentioned to you many verses and hadith about fitrah. كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. خلقت عبادي حنفاء. I created my people on monotheism or Hanafi. Does that mean we are born? Does that mean our fitrah or our aql contain or include knowledge and we born with it? So that there's contradiction between this verse. والله أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم لا تعلمون شيئا. We came, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get you out from the wombs of your mother knowing nothing. Let us see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in one verse that we are born with fitrah, and told us in another verse that we came out from our mother's wombs knowing nothing. Is there any contradiction in these verses? The answer is no. Fitrah is not information that we are born with. Fitrah is not information that we are born with. Rather, it is like an innate program. Fitrah is an innate program. We are equipped with such programs to grow with physical development and social contacts with others. We are born with certain programs related to aql and programs related to fitrah. And there is also a connection between aql and fitrah. And when we grow, these programs grow also and develop, and we get the knowledge. Like our teeth. We are born without teeth. But after certain times, our teeth will grow. Another example, we are born and cannot speak the language. But after growing and contact with others, we can speak. We learn language. But if we don't have the program of language, if we are not set with the program of language, we cannot speak. So these programs in fitrah and programs in aql is just like the program of language. It grows after growing biologically and after socialization. I will not talk about the rest of, I will not talk about each postulates I mentioned. Let me move to number 7, التكريم. الله سبحانه وتعالى said ولقد كرمنا بني آدم وحملناهم في البر والبحر ورزقناهم من الطيبات وفضلناهم على كثير ممن خلقنا تفضيلا. And we have certainly honored the children of Adam and carried them on the land and sea. The honor is not for Muslims only. It is for all the children of Adam, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. And any theory try to dismiss the honor or try to neglect the honor given to people, it is wrong theory. After the resurrection, after death, of course, affect our life. affect our behavior. If you believe that you will be accounted for your behavior after death, many things you are going to do, you will avoid it. You will not do it. And many things you got in your life, hardship, problems, unjustly, got it in your life, you will feel it is not something as big as those people who believe in the as resurrection think. You will say it is a short life, and after this life, I get adjust. I'll be rewarded, inshallah. Ninth, weaknesses and shortcomings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allahu alladhi khalaqakum min dha'fin thumma ja'ala min ba'di dha'fin quwwa thumma ja'ala min ba'di quwwatin dha'fan wa shayba yakhluqu ma yasha wa huwa al-'alim al-qadir. Allah is He who created you in a state of weakness and gray hair. Allah is He who created you in a state of weakness, then gave you a strength after weakness, then after strength He gave you weakness and gray hair. He creates what He wills, and it is He who is the all-knower, the all-powerful, able to do all things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيَدْعُ الْإِنسَانُ بِالشَّرِّ دُعَاءَهُ بِالْخَيْرِ وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. And man invokes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for evil, and he invokes Allah for good, and a man is ever hasty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the man he hasty, he told us he is weak, he told us that he is he forgot. All these weaknesses in people, and we have to consider it when we talk about them in psychology, when we treat them, when we try to build a theory. We have to remember these things, and also about us, for ourselves, we have to remember this part of our nature, so that to overcome all these things, you need istighfar, you need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness, you need to ask help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَلَنْ خَفَّفَ اللَّهُ عَنْكُمْ وَعَلِمَ أَنَّ فِيكُمْ ضَعْفًا. And Allah has lightened your task, for He knows that there is weakness in you. 10th, normal people are aware of the motivations of their behavior. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not ask them why you did this or did that. If He, as some theorists said, we don't know about the motivation of our behavior, we didn't know why we are doing this, we are victims of our unconscious, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us, will not ask us for that. We are sick people. So that normal people are aware of the motivation of their behavior. The last one I'll talk about, man is teachable. He can learn. He has the ability to learn and change his behavior and personality traits in any stage of their lives. We are not a victim or a prisoners of our childhood. We can change, we can overcome our weaknesses, our unacceptable behavior. We can change it, we can overcome it, we can learn good things, but we need will and we need time. One man came to Rasulullah and said, "Oh Rasulullah, give me advice." He said, لا تغضب. Don't feel anger. Don't act angrily. Then he repeated the question. Give me advice. Rasul Sabeeh repeated the same advice 3 times. Don't feel anger. Some people thought that to feel anger is something part of our nature. No, this is if it is part of our nature and we cannot change it, then Rasulullah will not tell him stop feeling anger. Another hadith, Rasulullah said, إنما العلم بالتعلم والحلم بالتحلم. Learning is to learn, and to feel حلم kind is to try by yourself to be kind, to educate, to socialize yourself to be kind, to socialize yourself to pay extra behavior, changing your traits. جزاكم الله خير. It seems to me I took more than I should. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
Alhamdulillah, jazakallahu khairan. Jazakallahu khairan, Dr. Abdullah. MashaAllah, it's a very interesting lecture, MashaAllah. So I would like to invite our participants to post their questions, and you can put them all in the chat. Let's see if we already have some questions there. Okay, I think Dr. Abdullah is taking a short break. So I found it very interesting actually. So let us give Dr. Abdullah a short wow.
Yes.
Yes, okay, alhamdulillah. Well, we would like to pose you a few questions, and well, let's just see if it's close to the subject, the topic or not. I got a few questions here, and I was wondering, I would like to start with the first question about the influence of Darwinism on a lot of theories, right? And there is this famous explanation of the fight, flight, freeze response when we get into stress, etc. And it's often explained by the evolution theory, right? So then I understand that it's explained like the oldest part in our brain, there the emotions are captured and so on. It's explained by the evolution theory. And I was just wondering, how can we look at this fight, flight, freeze response from an Islamic perspective? I hope you can.
What is the question again? What is that?
Maybe
just
it's a
give
bit
me
complicated.
the last one.
Yes. So my question was, there is the theory of stress response, right? If people get into stress, they tend either to fight or flight, so they run away, or they freeze. And it's often explained by evolution theory, right? Because they explain then the different parts of our brain, the oldest part, and then the part which came later, and so on. And I was wondering, how can we look at this reaction of either we want to fight or we want to flight, or we're freezing in the moment of stress? How can we look at this theory from an Islamic perspective? Or could we just adopt the evolutional explanation?
No. Is it only two choice, either fight or flight?
or freeze. The third one is freeze. Like, for instance, when we're in such a shock, sometimes we freeze and we can't move or we can't do anything because we're totally.
I cannot hear you. The voice is not, your voice is not.
So it's freeze. So it's like fight. Maybe you can type it, fight, flight, or freeze.
Free of what?
No, freeze. So fight.
Yeah.
Flight or freeze.
Flight is to fight or freeze.
Yes.
It seems to me the choices is more than two. Either to fight or to avoid the problem by handling the situation in different way and trying to calm down and try to help your opponent or the other part to calm him down. It is not just in two or in two choices. Yes, and the animal kingdom, either to fight or flight or to go away. But in human being, we have mind, we have aql. We have animals may use their power or intelligence, but man can use his aql, and aql has a role here in this situation, which animal do not have, and theories, Darwin's theories, Darwin theory not have also.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. I have another question. Let me see if I can find it. Yes. There was a sister who was wondering what are the differences between the conception of man from a Western perspective of psychology and an Islamic perspective of psychology. So it's a more global question.
All my talk is about this, but okay, either either he or she. Okay, I want to mention two things. I mentioned 12 postulates, but I want to emphasize on two things: religiosity or fitra and aql. Take these two into consideration while examining psychological theories, or while to understand the subject matter, or take into consideration these two things, fitra and religiosity.
So those are also the main components missing in all the current Western treatments of psychologists, right?
Yes.
The spiritual aspect and the fitra, right? So I have here one more question, and that is, can we trust our instincts? I found that a very interesting question, actually. We were talking about our instincts, and the question was, can we trust our instincts?
I said in my lecture, I am not pleased or comfortable with the translation of fitrah to instincts.
Yeah.
When we talk about instincts in psychology, we talk about something biological. But fitrah in Islamic is more than Islamic Islamic study and Islamic sources, is more than biological components. It is mixed with biology and ruh and iman and religion and aql and many things. It is a rich term in
Arabic.
And instinct cannot convey the meaning of fitrah. So it is, let us stick to the term fitrah, not instinct.
Yes, because I believe the word instinct, actually, to me, it has a connotation with biology. I mean, really the biology of, for example,
yes,
animals who
yes,
have, or birds who have their instinct flying south in the winter, etc. It's got nothing to do actually with fitrah then.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. So there's one other question coming up, and that is there a problem using Maslow's pyramid when identifying and attempting to provide immediate help to a person? So the Maslow's pyramid of needs.
What is the question again?
Is there a problem using Maslow's pyramid, the theory of Maslow, when identifying and attempting to provide immediate help to a person? So
you have to be cautious. You have to be cautious. Using the Maslow's model is like using any model in psychology. There is no speciality in Maslow's model. Some people thought that Maslow's model is very near or an Islamic model. This is wrong. Maslow's model represents the capitalism. Exactly. So it is not an Islamic model. But if you use it, you have to know the weaknesses of this model. Viktor Frankl is a psychologist, wrote a book about this model called Man Searching for a Meaning. Read this book, please. Man Searching for a Meaning. He said to go trying to satisfy your needs, you will go to an end. You will not reach an end. You will become an abnormal person, a sick person. You have to have a meaning. Try to reach that meaning, not to satisfy your needs. And he talked about this in an excellent way. Also, I want to mention the hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لو كان لابن آدم واد من ذهب لابتغى له واد آخر ولو كان له واديان لابتغى له واد ثالث. If you have a valley of gold, you will not be satisfied. You will go and try to find another valley of gold and a third valley of gold. Rasul said أيضا تعيس عبد الدينار تعيس عبد الدرهم تعيس عبد الخميصة تعيس عبد الخميصة تعيس وانتكس وإذا شيك فلانتقش. All these texts explain to us that it is to satisfy and to fulfill the needs is not the appropriate way for you to live in this life.
So if I understand it well, your advice would be to be cautious with this pyramid of Maslow, since he's very much, the human needs are very much defined in a materialistic way, and not so much as what our soul needs, right? So this the person who asked this question would like to have more understanding of the weakness of the model. Is there some publication or article on that? Do you know that? Maybe?
Read this book.
Read book you would
read this by Viktor Frankl. Men Searching for Meaning.
By Viktor Frankl, right? Yeah, yes.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question, Dr. Abdullah, Sabeeh, Jazakallah khair. I'm so impressed in so much information you're giving from an Islamic psychology perspective. My understanding would be that we want to look at the fitra, the nature, in the context of when people are ill, when people are physically ill, like for instance, if somebody who has heart disease at different stages of their life, or they are disabled, could it be that when we are understanding fitra and basic necessities and physical health and wellness, impact the person's spiritual strength and spiritual health? And if so, then in the Islamic psychology concept, me being a therapist, and I'm sure other sisters and brothers here would like to know how we can help a person who has a physical illness have stronger spiritual health, so that perhaps because of their spiritual need of finding the motivation to take good care of themselves, engage in healthy behaviors and healthful behaviors, they can find the spiritual strength to persist and persevere. If you could please share some knowledge related to that, as you were sharing about the fitra and the instinct and the basic necessities in the slides today. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair, sister. What do you mean by ill? The person is physically ill. Do you mean, I mean, do you mean he or she is physically ill or spiritually ill?
So physical illness, let's say big chronic illnesses like health problems or major surgeries that they may have had, cancer, somebody who is depressed, because we have in DSM category of disorders.
If we are physically ill, doesn't mean we are spiritually ill. Sometimes our soul become active when we are physically ill. So it is good to motivate him and to remind him by the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to ask him to read Quran, and to ask him to make some practices, to practice ibadah, to give alms or sadaqah. These will activate her soul, will activate our spirits, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. That's what I wanted to learn and share here, because there are other ways in which people can compensate for if they're feeling physically weak, that they can strengthen their iman around it. There is khair in there, that I am beginning to understand the need for my body right now to rest, but also maybe from a ruh perspective, be more strong and not feel that because of the body that is weak, that I need to have lesser of a effort put into huququllah. If anything, illness perhaps makes us more closer to Allah, and then engage in self-care behaviors that can benefit us both in terms of our physical health, but also our spiritual well-being.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khair, Doctor, I have one last question from a participant, and I think then we have to wrap up. The last question, Sister Sakina from Canada. She asks, with regards to Allah honoring mankind, is it understood that man is the one who dishonors himself? And if so, could you share some examples of how man dishonors himself?
What's
So shall I
the question,
repeat that?
sister?
Yes, I shall repeat that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she says Allah is honoring mankind, right? And if so, is it that mankind is dishonoring himself? So Allah is honoring us as
Yes, sometimes,
mankind.
yes.
Yes, but sometimes
Yeah.
when people get dishonored, is that because of our own behavior?
Yes, because sometimes those who rejected the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rejected his deen, rejected his ibadah, of course they are dishonoring themselves.
So, for example, if they do not follow the rules of Quran and Sunnah, then
Remind
that would
them
be a way to dishonor ourselves.
by Allah subhanahu.
Excuse me? That last part wasn't, I couldn't hear that.
Well, I said we can help people by reminding them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honor them. By reminding them by the honor given to them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So we should remind ourselves why Allah is honoring us.
We remind ourselves and we remind others around us.
And others as well, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Jazakumullahu khairan so much for that answer. I think this was the last question for now. And we will have to leave it here. Jazakumullahu khairan very much for your presence and for your wonderful presentation and Q&As. I hope everyone is satisfied with their answers. And this is, well, in 2 weeks' time, it will be the last in the series, right? So then it will be the final session. Hope to see you all there. And it was wonderful having you here. Jazakumullahu khairan. From me and from Sister Saira and Sister Rokaya, all the 3 moderators tonight, we were at your service. So inshallah, we'll see you